Shalom, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahushai. Double honors to the apostles of Great Millstone who rule well. And salutations, peace, and blessings to the elect pushing the truth of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. Alright, this lesson is basically going to be entitled the whole world is benefiting from the labor of Israel. You know, something to that effect. You know, I still haven't worked out the details, but it's gonna piggyback off my last video of dealing with on the comment that I received on one of my videos, dealing with that all nations have been enslaved, and that people should just forget about, or the Israelites, blacks, Latinos, Native Americans should just forget about their genocide. You know, their downfall. You know, and remember all these heathens, you know, tragedies, so to speak. So I'm going to bring out this first scripture, Deuteronomy 28 and 29, that says, "And thou shalt grope at noonday as the blind gropeth in darkness," right? Meaning that our people are in darkness, man. You know, grope meaning you're trying to, like a blind man is trying to find, the wall to hold on to, or trying to find a chair, trying to feel something for stability. That's how we're gonna grope at noonday, meaning, we're not gonna have the knowledge, and that's our people, right? But the Most High is using the prophets to push the truth, right? And thou shalt not prosper in thy ways, so we're not gonna prosper. So whatever the so-called conscious community tells you, it's of naught, man. You guys can keep trying what you're doing. You have that entitlement, but you're not gonna prosper, man. The only way you're gonna prosper is if you sell out to this world, all right? Because who's running this world is Satan. That's who's given the power through the manifestation of the so-called white man, right? So like it says, and thou shalt not prosper in thy ways, and thou shalt be only oppressed, you see, and spoiled evermore, and no man shall save you, or shall save thee. All right. So so polite's not gonna save you. All right. All these guys, whoever your leaders, you pick your leaders are, they're not gonna save you. Okay. And my internet is acting up, so Lord's will, I'm gonna post the definition or the etymology of spoiled in post-production. But when I looked up that word, that's a deep word, because what that basically goes into is how we got robbed, man. We got spoiled, we got robbed, and everything this world has owes it to the Israelites, to the labor of the Israelites. All right, and like I said in my previous lesson, I had some books that I didn't have, but I brought them with me today, so I'm gonna go into it through the spirit of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. I'm still trying to get it. It's acting up. You see, that's Satan anyway. But basically, yeah, it means we're robbed, man. We're spoiled evermore. We're robbed. All the labor that we went through is not even acknowledged. So we got robbed, we got spoiled, we got destroyed, and then the labor that we did, building, hundreds of different cities across the world, from Canada to South America, even in Europe, that's not acknowledged, to add insult to injury, so to speak. All right. So I'm gonna bring out this first book called Indian Givers. All right, right here. It says How Native Americans Transformed the World by Jack Weatherford. And this is gonna be a little tedious because I'm gonna read a lot. So brothers, just try to keep up and pay attention. This is page 6. It says, this mountain on which Rodrigo lives and works is the richest mountain ever discovered anywhere on earth. It says, beginning in 1545, this mountain produced silver for the treasures of Europe at a rate and in a volume unprecedented in human history. The Cerro Rico, which means rich hill, was a mountain of silver over 2,000 feet high. You see? So this was a river, or sorry, so like a mountain that produced silver for Europe, right? It says the Indian miners say that they have extracted enough ore which is metal, silver, from this mountain to build a sterling silver bridge from Potosi to Madrid. Right? Right? So, hey man, Potosi, I believe that's in Bolivia. So, the natives, the Indians, they said that they mined so much silver that they said they can build a sterling silver bridge from Bolivia to Madrid, Spain. You know how far that is, man? It produced so much silver ore and required the labor of so many Indian slaves. So see, that's what I said again. It's not just about, oh, they found it in South America, right? But what did the natives have to do with it? Well, who the fuck mined it? Who was the slave labor behind it? It was the natives down there, all right, which is our people, the tribe of Asher down there in Bolivia. You see? So going up to a mountain, back in the day, you had to climb the mountain, and you had a certain quota that you had to mine. If you didn't fulfill that quota, your arm might be cut off, your leg might be cut off, or you might just be killed. You see? It says, and required the labor of so many Indian slaves that for a while Potosi was the largest city in America. It was the first real city of the New World, reaching 120,000 inhabitants by 1573 and 160,000 by 1650. Potosi rivaled such old world cities as London and Paris in size, because all these Edomites, these devils, they wanted. Oh, they heard of the plunder, you know, the lascivious nature of that spot, you know. They wanted a piece of it, a piece of the action, right? The vain Spaniards who ruled it chose to advertise their wealth even in Potosi's coat of arms, which ostentatiously proclaimed, "I am Potosi, the treasure of the world and the envy of kings." It says, according to the Quechua myth, the Inca Emperor Huayna Capac first mined Cerro Rico a generation before the Spanish arrived, but the Incas called it Sumaj Orco, beautiful hill. The emperor stopped the operation, however, when a voice thundered out of the mountain saying, "Take no silver from this hill. It is destined for other owners." And see, that's prophecy, man. That's what we push. The starting with the apostles, they push the prophecy because everything had to happen a certain way. So if the Incan emperor mined all that stuff, the certain prophecies, you know, Esau wouldn't have certain treasures or riches, and is destined for him to rule. That's why it says in Job 9:24, the earth is given into the hand of the wicked, and everything in it, all the resources, all the pleasures of the earth is given into this devil's hand. You see, so that's certain prophecy. Just like in Rome, or with Hannibal, he could have took down the Edomites, ruling the Roman Empire. But guess what? That would upset the prophecy, so it didn't happen. See, so everything is controlled by Yahweh B'Hashem Yahushai. It says, "Take no silver from this hill; it is destined for other owners." The prophecy certainly came true, for the people of Bolivia have never profited from their great riches. The silver of Potosi was destined for others. Right? Going to page 13, it says, "But to find the Indian gold, one must look not in the banks and museums of America, but in the banks, museums, and churches of Europe." See? The conquistadors immediately melted it and sent it to Spain as golden bars. They shipped intact some of the more unusual objects, such as the golden sun from Cusco, to inform the emperor about the valuable crafts of his newly conquered land. Charles V sponsored a traveling exhibit of these objects through his empire as a propaganda device to glorify his reign by displaying the wealth from his new realms of Mexico and Peru. After the public exhibit, the emperor had all the pieces melted down for use in his treasury. He minted new coins from the gold, paid some of his debts with it, gave some of it to churches, and used it to finance the expansion of his army and palaces. Between 1500 and 1650, the gold of the Americas added at least 180 to 200 tons to the European treasure, man. You see, so imagine 200 tons of gold. That's crazy. This amount of gold has a contemporary value of over $2.8 billion. Back in the fucking 16th, 17th centuries, man. Far more than the meager hoards in gallows museums or in the banks of the other Latin American capitals. The churches of Europe still groan under the weight of American silver and gold, jealously guarded but ostentatiously displayed. It says, once simple churches such as those in Toledo suddenly soared to new heights, expanded and had new windows installed to let the sun pour down on the vast collection of gold and jewels from the New World. The Cathedral of Toledo boasts a 500-pound monstrance made in the 15th century from gilded silver, said to have been made from the Indian booty meaning spoil, the word booty means spoil, brought back by Columbus himself. It says, gold became so common in European palaces and churches that architects developed a novel style of decoration, emphasizing entering light that could illuminate the gold and make it dazzle the observer. Thankful conquistadors and an appreciative monarchy filled the churches with golden crucifixes, golden statues of saints, gilded frames of paintings, golden reliquaries, and gilded tombs. The Spaniards melted the American gold to fashion golden chalices, trays, and other religious articles that still survive in the churches in Spanish cities such as Seville and Toledo. So you see, matter of fact, this reminds me of the scripture, because all the riches that they got, that they still have from even 70 AD when they sacked the temple. Guess what? We're gonna get all those things back, man. You know. I'm trying to remember that scripture in Job. This is the scripture, Job 20 and 15. I'm going to start. It says, he hath swallowed down riches, and ye shall vomit them up again. The Most High shall cast them out of his belly. Yeah, man, so you guys swallowed riches, man. You know, you guys took, swallow meaning you just devoured it, man. All the riches of the world, and majority of the riches you got was from Israelites. The various tribes, whether they be natives of North Central South America or the Israelites that were dwelling in West Africa with different kingdoms there, had great riches, right? And the labor that you used to get those riches mainly was to the labor of the Israelites. He shall suck the poison of asp, the viper's tongue shall slay him. He shall not see the rivers, the floods, the brooks of honey and butter, meaning there's not going to be no fucking Edomites in the kingdom enjoying the kingdom. You're going to be in the kingdom, but you're going to be under labor, harsh labor, man. Okay? That which he labored for shall he restore, and shall not swallow it down. According to his substance shall the restitution be, and he shall not rejoice therein, because he hath oppressed and hath forsaken the poor, because he hath violently taken away an house which he builded not. Sound familiar? Alright, how you get this land? Surely he shall not feel quietness in his belly. He shall not save of that which he desired. Right? That was a point. Alright, that just that part I read just reminded me of that scripture right there. So going back to the book, Indian Givers, it says so yeah, these things still survive in Seville, man. See, such as Seville and Toledo. All these things are still there, man. You know? It says, page 16, the processions in the churches of Europe offer the most visible reminders of the deluge of American gold that showered Europe in the 16th century, but the remains of this golden wave still shine in the secular buildings as well. Church and lay authorities found themselves with so much gold that they decorated their palaces with it. They put gold leaf on the ceilings, added gold cherubs in the corners, strung vines of golden grapes between them, and puffed up golden clouds to fill any unadorned spaces. The gold of America gave Europe the Baroque and finally the Rococo styles of ostentatious decoration for public buildings, churches, palaces, and even the homes of the rising new merchant classes. So if brothers get a chance, and you go to Europe, or the brothers that are prophesying in Europe, go to the churches and palaces of London or Paris or different places like that, and those are basic places. They were basic churches and palaces, but they got decorated, they got lavish through the abundance and the labor of the Israelites. All right, that's how they got lavish and rich. Once extracted, this silver did not stay in Bolivia. In the imperial mint of Potosi, craftsmen hurriedly minted the silver into sterling bars or coins that were shipped across the mountains to the sea, up the coast of Panama, across the isthmus by mule, and onto galleons bound for Seville. In 1637, an English Dominican saw one of the mule trains carrying the silver to Portobello on the Caribbean coast of Panama. He described them as laden with wedges of silver, and one day he said, "I told 200 mules laden with nothing else, which were unladen in the marketplace, so that there were heaps of silver wedges like heaps of stones in the streets." Page 18. In the first 50 years of the conquest of America, the amount of silver and gold circulating in Europe trebled, and the annual output from America was 10 times the combined output of the rest of the world. Royal customs agents in Seville, Spain's only official port of entries for goods from the New World, recorded 16,000 tons of silver entering during this time. That's crazy. $3.3 billion worth in today's silver market. Illegal trade and pirating may have brought in another 5,000 tons or more. It says at the time of discovery of America, Europe had only about $200 million worth of gold and silver, approximately $2 per person. By 1600, the supply of precious metals had increased approximately eightfold. The Mexican mint alone coined $2 billion worth of silver pieces of 8. The silver coins flowing through Europe at first promised to strengthen the feudal order, but in the end they forged whole new classes and changed the fortune of many countries. The new coins helped to wash away the old aristocratic order in which money games could be played only by the privileged few. Massively larger amounts of money opened up new games to new people. Even though all the silver and gold went into Spain, it did not stay there. From Spain, the money spread throughout Europe. The Habsburg monarch Charles V occupied his throne both as Emperor of the Holy Roman Empire and as the King of Spain. This facilitated the spread of the money from Spain to the Habsburg holdings in the Spanish Netherlands and across Germany, Switzerland, Austria, and the Italian states. You see, so all these devils prospered, man. You know? Page 20. The impact of this new money showed clearly in the port of Antwerp, which had belonged to the Duke of Burgundy before he became Emperor Charles V. Writing in 1560 about the great trading city of Antwerp, a Florentine diplomat, Ludovico Guicciardini, 1483 to 1589, wrote that he found in the market innumerable kinds of merchandise, precious stones and pearls of various quality and prices, which the Spaniards bring from their West Indies and from Peru, called America and the New World. In particularly, they bring in a large amount of gold, of pure silver and bullion, and hand-wrought, which is likewise for the most part from that new and happy world. You see, why was it happy? It was happy for these Edomites, these devils. So guess what? When we say gospel means good news, who are the good news for? The Israelites, man. Because who are the oppressed? Who are the downtrodden? It's the Israelites, right? Why do crackers need good news? They're already in the. This is their world, man. This is their good news already. You see, they're ladders of this world. I'm gonna read more, page 22, about the Indian slave labor. It says, in the first few years after the discovery of Potosi, the Spaniards brought in 6,000 African slaves to work the mines, but they soon died at that high altitude. The colonial administration then turned to the Indians to work the mines without pay as a form of forced labor, or so-called slavery. So the natives down there, they went in slavery as well. See? It says, or Mita, as it was called in Quechua. It says the Inca language. Indians had to walk from hundreds of miles away in every part of the highland of Peru and Bolivia. They worked for approximately one in each 4 years, even though by law they were now required to work more than 1 year in each 7. Each miner's family supplied him with his food, and with the candles he needed for light inside the mines. So the Indians entered the mines on Monday morning and did not emerge again until Saturday. Alright, bunch of damn devils. That's these crackers, man. You see? Each man had to chisel out his daily quota of 1.25 tons of ore, which was silver in that mountain in Cerro Rico. It says he then loaded it in bags of a little over 100 pounds and carried it up to the main tunnel. This required that he drag and push the bag through a labyrinth of small tunnels barely large enough to squeeze through, and then carried up ladders at odd angles for hundreds of feet. See, that's what I was saying. It wasn't, you had to climb up the mountain, then you had to get the silver down. And you had a quota you had to reach, or else you have to be severely punished. That's these devils, man. You know, what else do you expect from these devils? That shows you that natives went into slavery as well. That's why they put the curse in Deuteronomy 28. In the first decades of this system, 4 out of 5 miners died in their first year of forced employment in the mines. 4 out of 5, man. It's, page 24, it says, despite these working conditions, if the Indian worker failed to fill his quota, the Spanish overseers forced him to work on Sundays, held him over for a longer mita, or forced his family to pay in goods or other services for the work he had been able to do. Which just brings me up to a scripture. Just find it. I'll try to find it. Or as well put it in a post-production. But basically it goes into how they didn't take into account all the labors of the Israelites, which they didn't, because you don't learn about this stuff in history class, or why did or how the churches of Europe became rich and lavish, as we read. Take into sorry, I'll put in post-production. Go back to page 24. It says, thus several members of a family, including women and children, often worked to fulfill what was supposedly the obligation to supply a single person. It says, even though the Indians made possible the greatest economic boom in the history of the world, and even though this boom gave rise to the great capitalist world economy, it says they still languish in poverty, which is the curses. That's going into the curses in Deuteronomy 28. Alright? It says they live in a struggling country in which prices sometimes increase by the hour, which is inflation, and where the value of a day's pay can plummet by a fourth overnight. It says today a second mountain rises up from the valley floor next to Cerro Rico in Potosi. It says this artificial mountain arose from the millions of tons of crushed rock residue that remained after the precious metals were extracted. It says the people call this artificial mountain Huacachi, the mountain that cried. This new structure of refuse is a giant mountain turned inside out and made from the core of Cerro Rico. It too is being mined now, or more precisely picked over, now that the wealth of the Cerro Rico has been nearly exhausted. The Indian women who still live in the area have turned to searching through the mountain of rubble for small bits of metal that were overlooked in the original mining. They are forced to scavenge from the garbage of their ancestors. Potosi, the city that supplied the silver for the rise of capitalism, is now out of silver, and the miners mine only tin. But the price of tin has dropped to almost nothing as the plastic revolution spread around the world. The great mint of Potosi that swallowed 8 million Indian miners and turned out billions of coins from the 16th century into the 20th century operates now as a museum for visiting school children. Bolivia has no more coins. Now robbed of its wealth, Bolivia uses only cheap paper money that must be imported. In the middle and late 1980s, with inflation running at an annual rate fluctuating between 2,000 and 15,000%, which is hyperinflation, paper currency in denominations of millions of pesos printed by companies in Germany and Brazil composed Bolivia's main import. You see? That was it on that book. that just shows you the contribution of the Israelites to the world, man. You know, and these people they don't take account to that. But that's why the scripture says they swallow down riches, they're gonna vomit them up again. And this is a book called Before the Mayflower: History of the Negro in America by Lerone Bennett Jr. I'm just going into Judah, the kingdom of Judah. All right. This is page 45. It says, in the early years of the plantation regime, when a gang of fresh Africans were purchased, which are Israelites, we know, they were assigning groups to certain reliable slaves who initiated them into the ways of the plantation. It says these drivers, as they were called, had the right of issuing or withholding rations to the raw recruits and of inflicting minor punishments. They taught the new slaves to speak the broken language English, Slakia, which they knew, and to do the plantation work, which required little skill. At the end of a year, the master or overseer for the first time directed the work of the new Negro, who now had to be tamed, assigned him to a special task of plantation work along with the other seasoned hands who had long since learned to obey orders, to arise when the conch blew at day clean, to handle a hoe in listing and banking, to stand still when a white man spoke. The merchandising and marketing of men made millionaires, right, in England and America, made them millionaires, right? And many people shared in the profits, meaning common Edomites. All right. It says on the eve of the American Revolution, says Dr. Lorenzo J. Green, the slave trade formed the very basis of the economic life of New England, right? Because it's another thing they don't know. In New England, you had the first slaves that were there were so-called natives, right? They were the first slaves that were in New England, all right? Going into the Pequot and different tribes, all right? When they lost the different wars, the English used them as slaves. About it revolved and on it depended most of her other industries: the vast sugar, molasses and rum trade, shipbuilding and distilleries, a great many of the fisheries, the employment of artisans and seamen, even agriculture. All were dependent upon the slave traffic of Israelites, the kingdom of Judah. You see? It says Liverpool in England, Newport in Rhode Island, Nantes in France prospered as slave trading centers. It was a common saying, Eric Williams reports, that several of the principal streets of Liverpool in England had been marked out by the chains and the walls of the houses cemented by the blood of the African slaves. And one street was nicknamed Negro Row. You see? It says, the Western world, Williams contends, is in danger of forgetting today what the Negroes contributed to Western civilization. London and Bristol, Bordeaux and Marseille, Sidi and Seville, Lisbon and New England all waxed fat on the profits of the trade in the tropical produce raised by the Negro slave. Capitalism in England, France, Holland, and colonial America received a double stimulation from the manufacture of goods needed to exchange for slaves: woolen and cotton goods, copper and brass vessels, and the firearms, handcuffs, chains, and torture instruments indispensable on the slave ships and on the slave plantation. It said this contribution of the Negro has failed to receive adequate recognition. See, that's what this lesson is going into, right? The whole world owes its economic system, its plunder, you know, its lavish styles, whatever you want to call it, to the labor of the Israelites, the so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans. It says it is more than ever necessary to remember today, England and France, Holland, Spain, and Denmark, not to mention the United States, Brazil, and other parts of South America, are all indebted to Negro labor, Negro and so-called Indian labor, which are Israelites, right? Africans helped build Liverpool, Nantes, and Newport. They helped finance the Industrial Revolution in England, right, and in America. They helped clear the forest in America. It said the Negroes, Captain Thomas Phillips said, are willful. That was the point, you know. Yeah, that was the point. That was page 46 later on. So with that, I want to say Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai, double honors to the apostles, great millstone that rule well. Salutations, peace, and blessings to the elect, pushing the truth of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. Hope your brother's ratified. And again, the whole earth owes its great, you know, civilization, I'll say, to the blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans, who are the Israelites, the biblical Israelites. All right, and we're gonna get all those resources back, when Yahushua comes and the kingdom is established. So until next time, I say shalom.